If you look at the NYC system, it has 175,000 units in the system. But why is it that it's a $3.5 billion budget, 175,000 units, and we're spending $20,000 per unit per year for maintenance? These people pay rent, okay? And they should be living in luxury apartment buildings, because luxury apartment buildings cost less to maintain. You know, so let's start there. In terms of what should we do with NYC policy, I find it hard to believe that you'll even find another person running for office that'll just come with the real. This is the real.
My name is Lutchi Gayot. Born and raised in Brooklyn, New York.
My district covers a small part of Ridgewood Queens, so it's mostly Brooklyn, but a little piece of Ridgewood Queens as well covers. I remember back in the day, it was this whole thing where you had to go to Manhattan. If you were gonna go out for dinner one night, if you go to a club or a bar, you had to go to the city. That was the thing, you know. But with this new era in time in this city, it's all about Brooklyn. You know, it's all about Brooklyn. It's about the art. It's about the flavor. It's about the people. And once upon a time, it was also about the good rent. You know, so that is a fact, and that's kind of why Brooklyn actually blew up, I believe, is because of that. You know. A monumental year in New York City. A lot of voters don't know this, but this is the very first year where literally all the city hall is going to be changing out. And in addition to that, we're going to have ranked choice voting. So it's a double whammy in terms of politics. So what I feel is we're moving in a good direction in terms of inclusiveness. And even with the petitioning process this year, we're looking at about a third of what you normally would need to produce in order to get on the ballot. So with me, I've collected nearly about 2,000 petitions so far, even though I need about 270 to get on the ballot. But I like the fact that it's a reduced amount, especially for this year, given it's ranked choice voting and a lot more candidates are gonna run. And to collect petitions, unless you have a really strong team, it's really difficult to do. You know, so I like seeing the fact that, you know, it's a lower number plus a lot more people have access to the ballot. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens this year. The reason why I believe I should run 34 is because of my experience. You know, my life experience, dealing in the district, employing people in the district. I've brought thousands and thousands and thousands of people into the district, into MassBev. I've brought artists from Europe to come and perform there. I've employed tons of people, from security guards to bartenders to cooks. I've bartended for thousands of people myself. And so as someone who's involved in the hospitality industry and a small business owner and entrepreneur, I came to realize that there's a message that's missing. You know, everyone who's running for office right now keeps speaking about the same failed policies of the past. You know, it's just like it's almost like it's rebranded. You know, everyone talks about affordable housing. It's like a brand, but no one really knows what to do to create affordable housing. You know, guess what? I do. You know, everyone hardly speaks about creating employment, but when they do, they don't actually have an actual solid policy that will create this employment. I'm from New York. I'm from Brooklyn. You know, I have every right to be here and speak up for the people. So here I am. Here's how I feel about the entire system altogether. I'll break down as far as just NYC, because another thing, I'm also a licensed New York City contractor. As a licensed New York City contractor, it gives me an insight into just how the whole system functions. If you look at the NYC system, it has 175,000 units in the system. Now, inside the 175,000 units, you got a $3.5 billion budget. So that's about $20,000 per unit per year for maintenance. We got luxury apartment buildings down here in this side of Manhattan that cost less than $20,000 per year to maintain. So we got to start at the root cause of it. We could say whatever we want about either we don't want to continue the program or we want to renovate the program or whatever the case may be. But why is it that it's a $3.5 billion budget, 175,000 units, and we're spending $20,000 per unit per year for maintenance? These people pay rent, okay? And they should be living in luxury apartment buildings, because luxury apartment buildings cost less to maintain. You know, so let's start there. not to say that I want to turn NYCHA project into luxury apartment building. What I'm saying is, if it costs as much, if not more, to maintain a NYCHA apartment building than it costs to maintain a luxury apartment building, then we have a problem. And that problem needs to be fixed. I mean, people need to be able to live in a condition that's worth what it is that they're paying to live. You know, you can't be spending $20,000 a year to maintain a unit, and you have hallways that have pee in them. You know, you have doors that are not locked. One building over in the NYCHA project in the Cooper houses, they don't have gas in the whole building. They gave them hot plates. I was out there speaking to the constituents. They gave everybody hot plates over at the Cooper houses. One of the buildings have no gas, and they have hot plates. And as a contractor, I already know what the problem is. They most likely have an issue with the pipes coming into the building, or they're getting leaks in the pipes going throughout the building. As a contractor, that building has about 3 apartments on each side, 6-story building, that's 36 units. I could get that building done, gassed up, in less than 3 weeks if I had that contract. But I guarantee you, whoever it is gonna be in a position to fix that gas, it may take years and it may never get done. So these are the problems that we have with NYCHA, and we need someone with that type of thinking. You know, we need someone with the renovation and building type of thinking to know how we should implement these different type of policies with NYCHA in particular, because everything that has to do with NYCHA has to do with construction. You know, so you need somebody with that type of thinking, at least in City Hall, talking about it. You know, so when we're talking about some sort of legislation or some sort of policy, something with the budget or whatever it is, you want a loud voice, say, hey, look, I'm a licensed New York City contractor. I know how these things go. It's not supposed to go this way. It's supposed to go that way. And it's not supposed to cost this much. It's supposed to cost that much, you know? And so that's where I stand in terms of with NYCHA. You know, and that's the kind of message I want to bring with my campaign and hopefully into City Hall. I'm not an opponent of anything that has something to do with renovating or whatever it is that we have going with NYCHA today. Again, back to my experience as a contractor, I know it takes anywhere from 6, sometimes even 8 months to get a permit to open up a new business. Say you want to open up a restaurant. What I want to do is I want to set up so that everyone who submits a plan to build an apartment gets approved in 30 days. Why? Because if you allow me to get approved in 30 days, I could open my doors faster, I could hire people faster, I could just make things work faster. To make it easier for small businesses to do business, it's progressive. You know, to clean up the hallways in the NYCHA houses, to do all those things are progressive things. You know, but we just need to actually execute those things, and we need people in a position to do it. Where I feel we're getting lost in our new generation is that we could come up with just about any idea with no real way to get it executed, and it's okay because it looks good on a palm card. And this is where I think we all get lost. You know, we get lost where someone will give a bad idea, or maybe an idea that may be a good idea, but it's just no way to actually get the idea done, versus people who come up with good ideas, and perhaps that good idea may, you know, take a few dollars out of somebody's pocket who's connected to a certain way, then that idea doesn't go through as opposed to the other one that does. You know, so that's really my view on it. My view is common sense, good ideas. It doesn't have a party line. You know, common sense, good ideas. Everybody wants to send their kids to a good school. That's just common sense. Everybody wants to have the ability to walk into a building that doesn't smell like urine. You know, those are good, pragmatic ideas and ways of getting things done. This has been going on for years, if not decades. You know, it's just now that they're starting to speak about it on the news. And quite frankly, the Asian community themselves have been talking about this for years, and also have been talking about how come this has not been broadcast on the news as much as it needs to be. I actually spoke for an Asian organization over in South Brooklyn about 2 years ago, after there was a mass killing and shot and killed like 3 or 4 people. And if I'm not mistaken, I think it was in Salon. It made the news, but the Asian community was really upset about it. But again, there wasn't enough attention to it. You know, So today, seeing how they're starting to pay more attention to what's happening with Asians, I think is a positive move. But this has been going on for decades, everyone. I'm floored that people are shocked at this, because this has been going on for a long time, and I believe, we need to start working on making sure that everybody's included, and also making sure that we don't end up, with more attacks like what's been going on. I believe that we need trades in our schools. Why? Because we need to put a safety net in every child's high school education. That's just something that everybody generally should agree on. I mean, if we want to help disadvantaged communities, or just communities in general, we need to give children a safety net in a high school diploma. Instead of putting them in a position to where they have to be forced to go to a 4-year or 8-year college. They did it in India 30 years ago. Now they're sending their people here to work at Google, here to work at Amazon, because in India, you don't have to go to school for 8 years to learn IT. It's like part of a trade program there. In Nigeria, the same thing. You got in Nigeria where they're developing software, they're doing all kinds of things in Nigeria because they did the same thing in their schools in Nigeria. Now, why is it here in New York City where these technologies were born, we don't instill these programs in our school? Instead, what we do, we have all these other programs that are around everything else. It's like the poverty industrial complex. We didn't educate you properly in school, so now that when you're out of school, we have all these programs to just, kind of kick the can down the road. I always like to say, let's invest today in education so that we don't have to invest tomorrow in welfare. I'll copy from the Indians. How about that? From India. I'll copy from the Nigerians. They did it there, so let's do it. That's another one of those huge things. Kids continue to not go to school, a physical school building, for all of eternity. I mean, I think just about anybody here in this city will say that that's probably not going to be the case. So we need to start looking at how we're going to rebuild our education system, and this is a good opportunity to. Our kids just lost a lot of time in school. There's a lot of money coming out of Washington, D.C. for schools. This is the perfect time for us to put these STEM programs in our schools, reinvent the curriculums that are currently inside the existing classrooms. Just reinvent those curriculums. I'm not even asking you to build me a new trade school. Just reinvent the curriculums in the existing classrooms. New classes in robotics, new classes in AI. Let's experiment with virtual teachers, with robotic teachers even, inside of a classroom. That way you can learn how to program your own teacher. Let that be a class. Have a data scientist teach you how to program a teacher. So these are the kind of things I believe we need. We do need sports in school. I played basketball in school. It was very fun. You can't play basketball on Zoom or on teleconferencing. So we need to get the kids back into school. We got to do it responsibly, of course. But I think everyone here in New York carry the same understanding and idea. That we need to get the kids back into school, but we got to do it safely, we got to do it properly. So at least that's my outlook on the education aspect. Because it has a lot to do with housing, it has a lot to do with community development, it has to do with generational wealth, especially for disadvantaged communities, and it's opportunity zones. Opportunity zones was put into the law in 2017, and what it did basically, it followed the census tract. So wherever the average income was below a certain amount, it automatically made that area an opportunity zone, which means if you are an investor and you invest your money into an opportunity zone fund, you pay no taxes. Now, what is it that I think is good about it? What's good about it is that it creates an environment where people in disadvantaged communities, if they had access to those resources, if they had if they had access to resources, would be able to develop these communities. Now, it is occurring other places, like if you go to Atlanta, Georgia, in those opportunity zones, there are a lot of people in disadvantaged communities, or people of African descent, of Hispanic descent, brown and black people. I'm speaking in particular because these are the type of areas that usually have these type of zones, who are taking advantage and who are growing. But here in New York, it's completely non-existent. So what I would do to make it better is, if you want to institute a program, well, let's institute that program. Let's institute a program that will allow existing homeowners who are R5, R6, R7 lots in the city to have the access to the same kind of capital that developers have in order to develop their own properties into affordable housing. What does that do? Well, that puts you in a position to, one, you maintain that property that you had your whole entire life and generations to come, and that creates a sort of generational vehicle for that community. And it also creates affordable housing. Plus it's doable, and you literally don't have to raise $1 in taxes to get it done. The program's already there. You just need to let the people know the programs are there, and you have to go to the money people to make that money available for the people to use. I'll finish this point with this. I've actually started doing this with one property owner who's actually owned the property over in Central Brooklyn since the 80s. So that this person who's been in the neighborhood for over 40 years with his own land. Now, but to that point, it's possible. You know, I've actually tried it. It actually can work. You know, and it's not too much of an enormity, because outside of New York, believe it or not, people actually build their own. Here in New York, that program would give you a contractor, it'd give you an architect, it'd give you everything, you know, and then of course tied to the money would be, as per that agreement, the units would have to rent at a certain price. That's the new way we're going to create affordable housing in our own neighborhoods. Space Ibiza in Miami. Now, why is Space Ibiza such a big deal? It's because back in like 99, 2000, the city of Miami, all the downtown was completely depleted and they didn't know what to do with it. So what they did was they implemented a 24-hour liquor license. So Space Ibiza, out of Spain, came to Miami and bought this beat-up old warehouse lot. Beat up. Turned it into a nightclub with a 24-hour liquor license. And all of a sudden you had people flying out of Europe into downtown Miami. Then you had a restaurant open up next door, a hotel open up across the street, and before you knew it, they didn't even spend $1. What they did was they changed the law. One law. They changed a single law that says you can sell liquor 24 hours in this one little section of downtown Miami. It even bled into other parts that are around downtown Miami and miles away. At least what I think in my district is this. We have MassPath. And as you know, MassPath is more or less nothing but warehouses. A lot of it's not being used. How about we implement a 24-hour liquor license and a certain cutout of MassPath? But the rule is this: you cannot build anything new. You have to use the existing warehouse buildings, the exact existing footprints to do what it is that you have to do. That's gonna bring the entire planet into MassPath, New York. We take the excess revenues that we'll get from these licenses, and this is going to produce a lot of money, and we use that for UBI for our district. Put some STEM programs in our schools. Now we implement a district like this in every single district in the city of New York. In City Hall, speaking like this on your behalf. You know, so then again, that's the reason why I'm running. Good, pragmatic ideas, and try to use the resources we already have. So I just solved the problem with these buildings getting rented. I just solved the problem with the storefronts not getting rented out and people not making their money, and also solved the problem bringing education programs into our schools. And I didn't even touch the budget. Raise that money without even going into our budget. So again, that's the reason why I'm running. Good ideas, pragmatic ideas is what we need here in City Hall. So, you know, that's the name of the game today. So New York isn't dead, but New York needs to reinvent itself. You know, we need a city government that doesn't take 6 months to approve a plan. We need a city government that doesn't go out that can reimagine how it is that we run this city. And to make it easier for small businesses to do business, it's progressive. You know, to clean up the hallways in the NYCHA houses, to do all those things are progressive things. You know, but we just need to actually execute those things, and we need people in a position to do it.